Hey, shalom, shalom, shalom. It's the brother Bayan here to bring you a quick lesson. Prior to get started, I want to give infinite honors and prayers unto Yahweh, Bahashimi, Hawashai, Bahashim Kakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who taught me this truth. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect, you Akim, you Akwat, with you brothers and sisters in the Hebrew that believe. All right. And this for this lesson here, man, it's going to be, pretty plain and simple, but it's just admiring the works of the Lord, man. All right. And this lesson's inspired by a conversation that, had with one of the brothers in the camp, Amawad, and, many more other brothers, when we have these conversations of just admiring beauty, okay? And knowing that the Lord, is the creator of all of these things, man. All right. The conversation, pretty much went, Jake is into, capturing, pictures and, films or, videos and things like that. And the brother asked me, who was my favorite, director. All right. And I truly couldn't really think, who was my favorite director? What really made me, get into this. All right. And the one of the thoughts that came to my head is like, okay, if you're talking movies or something, okay, maybe like Quentin Tarantino or something like that. I like his movies, because it's bloody, but when I went into a deeper thought, it was like, wait, no, the whole purpose of me, even doing the things that I like to do is because the Lord, yeah, I like to watch movies and stuff, but this right here, what you're seeing, this is art itself. All right, and this comes from Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, man. All right, so the Lord is the greatest, creator, the greatest director, producer of this movie that we're in, of his film, of his story, But come on, man, like how can you not admire this work? It's ridiculously beautiful, and it's perfect, the water flowing, the skies, and so on and so forth. But I'm gonna jump into some scriptures of the Lord being the one to create all these things, all right, and just that admiring the beauty of it, But I'm gonna kick it off with where do I want to go first? Because obviously, you can start from Genesis, yeah, let me start from Genesis. Let's start from the beginning. All right, so this is Genesis 1:1. All right, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. All right, and that God right here is speaking. All right, it's going into the Elohim. All right, in the Hebrew. All right, the Elohim goes into pretty much Yahushai and the angels. All right, so Yahushai, being the one who was in charge, who first of all, who was created first, and was in charge of creating, the world as we see it. All right. And this whole concept of the world is just amazing in itself. All right. Like we're literally on a floating rock. All right. With water, 70% water that covers this place that could have been taken over the entire land, but the Lord has it appointed to the bounds that it just cannot reach. And so on and so forth, man. Like this type of stuff makes me excited to speak about because it goes so in depth. All right, and you can see it. It's not something that you just making up or just randomly speaking. Like these is evidence, of how all of these things are set up. All right, and even if you think in an aspect of, okay, man did this and that, man did this and the third, we already know that the Lord controls man. So even if men were to make, man-made places, buildings, dams and so on and so forth, it still goes back into the glory of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. All right. So going back to the source of the work, But again, it says, and I'm not going to get the whole Genesis, but pretty much the basis of it. All right. It says in let me see. And the earth, verse 2, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the spirit of Yahweh Shem Shah moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, Salak, and I'm going to read it verbatim. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw that the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. All right, and that's why we got, just the day and night. Come on, man, that's beautiful. Of seeing the transition of the sun going down, and the light of the night, which is the moon. Like, come on, man. Like the Lord was cold-blooded, man, with coming through, with this creation, man. All right. It says, and God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. All right. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. All right. So now we have the divisions of water in the ocean. All right. To the heavens, the different levels, the ozone layers, and so on and so forth. So this place is layered out the further you go up, and who can think of that, man? Only the Lord. All right. And it says, and God called the firmaments heaven, in the evening and the morning were the second day. And God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called it seas. All right. Like, come on, man. It sounds like this is all, plain and simple things, but just to dive deep into this, man, it's real specific, have all of these things. Jake still may think that it's basic, just because we see this shit every day. All right. You see something too much, you forget to admire the beauty of what it was from the beginning, and that's all this lesson is about, man. All glory to Yahweh Shem Yahushai, and the work that he has done. It's truly a masterpiece. Okay. And I could read all day. This is not about to be a Genesis breakdown, but I'm gonna jump now into some precepts of the Lord creating these things. All right. Yahushai being that, okay. But this is the book of Proverbs, chapter 8 and 22. All right. And this is, again, backing up what I said, that Yahushai was created first, and he formed all of these things. The Lord Yahweh, our Heavenly Father, gave permission to Yahushai to create these things, along with the Alahayim, which are the angels, the elect, in their original form. All right, from the beginning. All right. And that's another, Jake about to go too deep into that, but that'll be another lesson, for itself. All right. But Proverbs chapter 8 and what I say, 22, it says, the Lord Yahweh possessed me in the beginning of his way, before his works of old. I was set up from everlasting, from the beginning, or ever the earth was. When there were no depths, I was brought forth. All right. When there was no depths, I was brought forth. All right. So Yahushai, is telling you before Genesis, all of this happened. All right. It says, before the mountains were settled, before the hills. So like I skipped one, verse 24. When there was no depths, I was brought forth. When there were no fountains abounding with water, before the mountains were settled, before the hills was I brought forth. While as yet he had not made the earth, nor the fields, nor the highest part of the dust of the world. When he prepared the heavens, I was there. When he set a compass upon the face of the depth. When he established the clouds above, when he strengthened the fountains of the deep. When he gave to the sea this decree, backing up that part of just the separation of, the water of the lands, and how the water has its bounds that it just cannot pass. All right. It says, when he gave to the sea his decree that the water should not pass his commandment, when he appointed the foundations of the earth.
Then I was by him as one brought up with him, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him. Rejoicing in the habitable part of the earth, and my delights were with the Son of Men. All right. And that's pretty much plain, man.
You know, again, the Lord was the first creation, and you know, he put all this together, you know, through the will of Yahweh by Shem Yahushai, through the will of Yahweh, you know, and the works being done through Yahweh Shai. Okay. But I'm gonna jump to one more because the brother just pulled up. We're about to do a little lesson together, but where was it? This is the book of Colossians, chapter 1, verse 15. I'm gonna start at 12. Salakia 1 and 12. It says, "Giving thanks unto the Father, which hath made us meet to be partakers of the inheritance of the saints in the light, who hath delivered us from the power of darkness and hath translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son." All right, let you know that this is speaking of Yahweh Shai. All right, it says, "In whom we have redemption through his blood, even the forgiveness of sins, who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature. For by him were all things created." Yahweh Shai. "For by him were all things created, that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers, all things were created by him and for him. And he is before all things, and by him all things consist." All right. And that is pretty much the point, man. All right. Yahweh Shai is the creator of these things, man. And we give all glory to Yahweh B'Shem Shai, you know, and commend the Lord, you know, commend the Lord and you know, wish to be partakers, you know, to be of the elect, to know that, man, possibly that I helped the Lord, you know, create these things, man, you know. And again, it's all just beautiful in itself, you know. But you know, I pray that this lesson was edifying. You know, praying to get out of here, I want to give infinite honors and prayers unto Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, B'Shem Kakwatash, double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. And I'm gonna definitely do like a part 2 in this lesson, you know, just because the brother just pulled up and we about to do our own thing, you know. But expect a part 2, you know, to go further more in depth, you know, of admiring the beauty and the works of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. All right. But again, I pray that this lesson was edifying, and shalom.